The junior senator from Florida.
Madam President, last month I was proud to see the Senate come together in a bipartisan effort and pass a Congressional Review Act measure to overturn President Biden's unconstitutional federal vaccine mandate on private businesses. In that bipartisan vote, a majority of U.S. senators sent a clear message that these job-killing mandates are wrong and have no place in our country's fight against COVID-19. Then, just days after Christmas, President Biden said something very interesting. While he was talking with governors about the COVID-19 pandemic, he admitted, and I quote, "Look, there is no federal solution. This gets solved at a state level," unquote. This is President Biden's message. States should be leading the effort. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a role for the federal government, but we have seen from the Biden administration no progress, just worsening cases and the horrible job-killing consequences of his unconstitutional mandates on private businesses. I want to be clear, his unconstitutional mandates are job killers. Back in October, the Federal Reserve reported that vaccine mandates were widely cited by businesses as a reason for low labor supply and hiring and retention issues. It was a finding my Republican colleagues and I have been warning about for months before their report, and it's directly tied to inflation. When the labor supply is reduced, prices go up, and families, especially those on low and fixed incomes, suffer. Restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, and small businesses all have to charge more. I heard about a restaurant owner in St. Petersburg, Florida, that has had to take certain items off the menu because they simply cost too much, and he can't pass the cost on to his customers. He's even seen the cost of fryer oil and to-go boxes more than double. I talked to an operator of a food bank in Osceola County, Florida. She used to see 15 families each day, and now she's seeing upwards of 70 families. Food prices have gone through the roof. I mean, it's more expensive for her to get food to give to people who are hurting at the very time demand is up. This is the reality for families and small businesses all across America. And the vaccine mandates do nothing but make these problems even worse. I can't imagine why, just when our country is working to get back on its feet, the President of the United States would be pushing policies that kill jobs. But that's exactly what he's doing. Now, lockdown-loving Dr. Fauci and President Biden want to double down on their insane mandates and are considering forcing every American who wants to fly to show proof of vaccine before boarding an airplane. This is just another Orwellian response from the Biden administration and radical Democrats that does nothing to protect the American people. Providing information about the virus, providing tests, supporting vaccine and therapy developments, and getting the economy back on track should be the only role of the federal government in this pandemic. Congress has to take a stand and protect the American people from these communist China-style policies that are meant to divide us. That's why a few months ago I introduced the Prevent Unconstitutional Vaccine Mandates for Interstate Commerce Act. The bill would prevent federal agencies like the Department of Transportation and Department of Commerce from requiring proof of vaccination for companies trying to do business across state lines. Importantly, it would block the federal government from making airline passengers show proof of vaccination before catching a flight, which is exactly what Dr. Fauci wants to do. The bill also protects truckers and will ensure that the Biden administration can't ruin our supply chains even more. Our truckers are the key to fixing Biden's supply chain crisis, and we should do everything we can to protect them. President Biden has continually shown us his track record of failed policies, and a mandate for domestic airline passengers would only add to his growing failures and blame shifting. We saw it in his failed and deadly withdrawal from Afghanistan. We've seen his administration's complete failure to handle the crisis on our southern border. We see it every day in President Biden's inability and unwillingness to fight inflation by stopping reckless spending. And we continue to see his failure and complete void of leadership in how this administration is fighting COVID-19. Now, I'm sure my Democrat colleagues will say that this legislation isn't needed because at this exact moment, there's not a vaccine mandate to fly on a plane. But they said the same thing last year when we tried to preemptively block vaccine mandates for private businesses. They claim the president has committed not to do that. We know the president broke that promise. The American people deserve better than politicians who continue to mislead them on the federal government's failures to fight COVID properly. The back and forth has to end. We must end these ridiculous, unconstitutional vaccine mandates and focus on getting our economy back on track. That's why, as I mentioned earlier, the Senate passed a Congressional Review Act measure to invalidate President Biden's vaccine mandate on a bipartisan basis. The Senate, along with the majority of Americans, don't believe that federal